And we are live. Welcome, mystery and thriller fans. I'm your on-air host and author, Sara DiVello, and I am so excited to welcome today Jen Givhan, author of the brand new book, Salt Bones, out tomorrow. Jen, welcome to Mystery and Thriller Mavens. Tell us about these bones.
Thanks so much, Sarah. This is my newest heart work. It takes place on the Mexicali borderlands where I grew up. That's in the southernmost part of California. The story follows Malamar Veracruz, whose name, she says, means bad sea, because her mama was upset with her for being born by the Salton Sea and kind of tying her mom thinks, to the land and the place. And so it follows Malamar Veracruz and her two daughters, Amaranta and Griselda, as they try to figure out what has been stealing the girls on the Salton Sea. And there is a mysterious figure named or called La Ciguanaba, who has been haunting Mal since her own girlhood when she was a teenager and her sister Elena disappeared. And now La Ciguanaba is back, and Mal is afraid that as girls start disappearing again, that her daughters might be next.
Ooh, well, Jen, we have so much to talk about, and I cannot wait to get into every single bit of it. But first, I just want to welcome everyone because we are streaming live to 8 different destinations across Facebook and YouTube. So we have a lot of people watching on a lot of different places. So mystery, thriller, horror loving fans, wherever you're watching from, you are in the right place. This is the right time. It is Mystery Monday, and because Mondays can be murder, we are going to make Monday a little less painful and get your week off to a killer start. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. And if you're new, welcome, friends. Here's the drill. Every Monday, I give you my handpicked featured authors, and you get to ask them anything. So ask Jen about these characters, ask her about her writing practice. Oh my God, this gorgeous cover, which everyone is talking about on social media and on the web. So get your questions going in the comments and I will get them right over to Jen. Renee is joining us from Facebook. She says, hi, Jen and Sarah from sunny and hot South Florida. I thought it was hot on the up here in Boston, but I was wrong. Apparently it's hotter in Florida. Welcome, Renee. So good to see you. Robin is joining us. She says, there you are. Hello from gently raining Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. Welcome, Robin. So good to see you. And I see Nancy, Alice, Elena, and other people. Oh, good to see you. Lane logging on as well. Okay, Jen, I have so many questions. So let's start there. So I know your background is you're also a poet. So tell us about writing poetry and writing prose and which you prefer and how you weave a very poetic style of writing into this book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I gently tease the gently raining. Everything will be gentle today for my tender heart. That everyone is a poet at heart. And by that, I mean that at its very essence, story is first and foremost about words. Right. And how we convey meaning, how we convey emotion. Right. And I've been writing, poetry and stories, but mostly poems since the time I was a very little girl. And so that was just my background and called to me. And so I studied in my MFA program, really the craft of writing poetry. And then everything that I did with my novels has been mostly self-taught, or I would sit in on some fiction lectures. But so one of the things that I loved about poems and poetry in particular is its I was going to say obsession with, I think that actually works. It's obsession with the moment, right? And so like poets will often joke that we're doing our work when we're just staring out the window. We're like staring at a tree. We're staring at a bird. Like we are doing hard work. We are in the moment. And so I tend to think of every paragraph, every sentence, then every paragraph, then every chapter, and then the whole of the book as a collection of poems, as a collection of moments, right? And then that allows me to get really deeply into the psyche and the emotional core of the protagonist. Yeah.
I am so fascinated by all of that because I will be totally honest. I could never understand poetry until Amanda Gorman gave her brilliant and beautiful poem at President Biden's inauguration. And all of a sudden, my veins and my brain and my heart lit up in a way that I had never really been able to understand or get into poetry. And all of it, when she said, when what just is not always justice. And I was like, oh, brilliant. Like, and she was,
Yes.
I think what I'm fascinated by is the efficiency of poetry, because you can say so much in only a few words, where I would need hundreds and hundreds of pages to get to it. And I'm fascinated by what you said about being present. I
Right.
never thought of it that way. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, and I love that you brought up Amanda Gorman's poem too, because poetry then is a great record of the moment, right? And so of our moment. And I think that's one of the things that I love about it too, especially accessible poetry. I mean, it sometimes would get a bad rap in the poetry world, but I love accessible poetry. And like I always tell people, say the damn thing. Like say what you mean, say what your heart means. And so I love wordplay, love puns, but I think that it's okay for us also just to communicate with each other in poems. And so I think that was really the bridge over to fiction writing for me.
Ooh.
Because I've always been interested in telling stories in poems, but there is, the constraint of, I mean, I have written novel-esque length poetry collection, which is Rosa's Einstein. That's, I think, my third or fourth poetry collection. And I mean, it's about 80 to 90 pages, so it would be a very short novella. But as far as poetry goes, that's a long form story. And so I already was experimenting with the play between story and poetry and doing prose poems and things like that. So as a writer who grew up on the borderlands and that landscape, that liminal space as bicultural,
Ooh.
growing up, for instance, in a place that is also very bicultural. There's indigenous, white, and then mostly Latino population. I think that a lot of the ways that I tell stories don't lend themselves to one specific genre or even one specific mode of writing. And so I love bringing in all of those different components. Another one of them is screenwriting. Like I taught
Ooh.
myself how to write a screenplay, and needing to condense it into that language of pure story, pure dialogue, right?
Right.
Also really helped refine my writing style. And I think that was a major jump for me from my first two novels to then my next two novels, so River Woman, River Demon, and then now Salt Bones. And so a lot of times people tell me that my writing is cinematic, and I think that a lot of that comes from the poetry and the screenwriting aspect, where it's like focused on the moment, focused on the language, focused on the inner landscape of the protagonist, and then, right, what is the barest bones that we need to see this picture?
Oh my God, I love
In
that.
our minds.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
Thank you.
emblazon that into my brain and soak it into my bones. What are the barest bones that we can tell the story? I love that. Oh my goodness. I'm getting, my brain is just lighting up with such a different way of thinking. And I love thinking about that and challenging myself to think about that. Oh my gosh. Okay. We have so many people. I don't want to hug the conversation because my goal here is introduce my mavens, readers, to their favorite writers and introduce them to their next favorite writers. So let's do that. Sharon is joining us from YouTube. She says, hi girls. Hi Sharon. So good to see you here. John is joining us from Northeast Ohio. Hi John.
Hi,
So good to see you here. Robin says, I love the names in this book. I'm not sure I could pronounce them properly, but that's okay in my head.
That's
So
awesome, Robin. Thanks. So, I mean, part of it too is that I grew up, I am not bilingual. I am not fluent in Spanish. And so I grew up hearing it all the time. My grandparents are fluent in Spanish. My grandfather, Spanish was his first language and only spoke Spanish for much of his childhood. And so unfortunately, then he didn't teach his children to be fully fluent in Spanish because at the time there was such a stigma against Mexicans, and he was made fun of, bullied, teased even by teachers and guidance counselors, things like that. So he actually went on to become an ESL teacher to help other Spanish speakers transition into English and assimilate as well. And so he was really of the culture of assimilation and taught his kids to do so. So for myself, my heritage and culture is a reclamation for me, and I trying to piece back the language that then ties me to my family and our history and our stories. But so much of it really is bicultural, because again, my grandfather taught himself so well. He became a beautiful English speaker and went on to teach at the college level as well. And so my mom's writing. Encourage everyone, write your story. And so my mom's working on hers. It's in English, and so I really wanted to channel, especially in the character of Beto, that sense of language, and also the sense of language loss. You see that Amaranta and Griselda, for instance, don't speak very much Spanish. So generationally, right, Spanish has not necessarily retained that connection to story and to the ancestral past of the characters. So all of that was to say, it's okay that you don't know what everything means. I, in my own family, didn't always know what everything meant. And so then it was like going back to my abuelo later and asking him, can you tell me these things? Or going back to my uncle, or just asking other bilingual friends. And then also a lot of the language that is like deeply ingrained, like my kids and I tease that I don't even know what a sandal is, because we just call it a chancla. Like there's, for me, there's no other word. And so I wanted to give that sense, and I wanted to invite all readers into this story so that Latinos would feel like at home, but also anyone who was not a part of the culture would still feel invited. And so you didn't miss anything in the plot if you couldn't understand all of the Spanish words, I promise.
Oh my gosh, I love that, because I think we all read to walk in others' shoes, right? To walk to step into other shoes, into others' eyes, and view life from their perspective for a while. So what a beautiful gift to be able to step into the Mexicali Latina culture, to, into these myths, into this magic, into these stories, into watching and celebrating you reclaim your history and your language. I love that.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah. And also, just another fun bonus, learning another language is one of the best ways to prevent Alzheimer's. So as we're learning new words, we're also helping our brains. So it just keeps getting better.
Yeah. And that's one of the themes in the book as well, with the loss of culture, loss of really major components of family history with those buried secrets. There's the abuela, right, Vero, who is dealing with dementia. And so I think that a part of that for me was showing what the toll of grief, yes, and she lost her daughter, but also those family secrets and the trauma, and then her own mother guilt, right, had on her. And so, yeah, absolutely. Memory loss is something that runs in my family. And so that's actually a really interesting thing that I'm going to talk to my mom about, that like, let's keep learning Spanish, and we'll like exercise your memory, Mom.
Yes, I'm learning Italian right now from Duolingo, and I already speak another language. And
that's amazing.
And also eating berries and dancing. Dancing's really
yes.
Dancing's really good.
Yes.
Anissa is joining us from South Carolina, my favorite librarian. She says, hello, Sarah and Jennifer. Anissa is also an amazing bookstagrammer. She is Anissa Bookish Joy. So good to see you. She says, I am so excited to read this book. If Anissa is excited, everybody's excited. So I'm excited for that.
Thank you, Anissa.
Renee, yes, I love this question. Jen, can you please tell us how you pronounce the names in the story again?
Yeah, so Mal is the main character, and her name is Malamar, which I said is kind of a cruel joke, if you will, in the book, but also kind of like in the Latino culture, sometimes like little jabs at each other, like gordita, like little chubby, little fatty, like sometimes little jabs are also terms of endearment. Like I definitely wanted to examine that. But so Malamar, bad C, like the Salton Sea that is drying up and becoming toxic. So that's how you pronounce the main character's name. The youngest daughter, who's in high school, Amaranta, and sometimes and often will go by Amar in the book. And then we have Griselda, who goes by Gris, which also means gray. And I liked that for her, like she's kind of on the cusp of maybe like she's broken out into a new world. She's gone to college, the first in her family, but she also really wants to come back to the Imperial Valley, and which is El Valle in the book. The Imperial Valley is where I grew up, and do good for her community. But part of her also just wants to get out and live the dream that her mother, her grandmother had not been able to do. And so, yeah, Beto is the abuelo. That's Amal's dad. And then Vero is abuela. Who else? We have Gustavo. Gus, that one's pretty easy for anyone who doesn't speak Spanish. Yeah, I mean, if there's any other characters that you were curious about, I'm happy to tell you more about them. Sarah, I wanted, if you wouldn't mind, would you hold up your copy of the book? So I wanted to show that, Sarah, you got one of the OG covers. That is like the rare collector's edition. I'm just kidding. But I mean, you got it. There you go. So originally La Ciguanaba was on the cover, but we decided, the marketing team decided that we would be just a little bit more ambiguous and have that spooky haunting on the cover, so you're not quite sure who's wearing the hood.
Well, this works well for me, Jen, because I actually collect ARCs, which are advanced reader copies.
Oh, I love that.
And if we ever meet someday, or when we meet someday in person, I will have you sign it and inscribe it, because I collect them. And then someday, you know, when I die, people will be like, "My God, look at the collection of her books," and I will be like, "Yeah, you're welcome."
Thank you.
You guys, the book is not even out yet. Jen is coming on to give us the exclusive inside sneak peek, and you can pre-order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. That is, of course, Murder by the Book. And the good folks at Murder by the Book will send you the book tomorrow morning when she drops, when she is out to the world. And whether you are watching with us on Facebook or YouTube, here is that link where you can order your copy of this gorgeous, gorgeous cover, this haunting story, and get your hands on the world of Malamar, the abuela, the abuelo, Gris, all of these incredible characters. So here's the link to pre-order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore, Murder by the Book, whether you're watching with us on Facebook or YouTube. Robin is saying such cool covers. Aren't they gorgeous, Robin? I have been taking pictures of them in front of sunsets and matte flames and everything, because it's just so fun to see this gorgeous orange.
So the orange was meant to depict the sunset at the Salton Sea. And so again, if you do any research at all, or just look up the Salton Sea, one of the characteristics that everyone notices is how gorgeous it is, especially at sunrise and sunset. So there is a passage in the book when Malamar is thinking about the sea that she grew up beside, and how her daughter, Amaranta, who is, just straight A whiz of a student, she tells planets that are just outrageously gorgeous, but poison. And that is the Salton Sea. It's so gorgeous, but the irony is that it's toxic, it's drying up, and it's killing the inhabitants of El Valle. And so that for me is what the orangeness depicts, just that gorgeous, beautiful view, but beneath that is something harrowing and tragic.
Thank you for telling us the significance of the gorgeous colors. And Renee is wondering, what's the significance behind the title? Why is it called Salt Bones?
Oh, that's such a great question. And it also connects to the Salton Sea. So one of the things that's been happening, well, it's long over now, is that there were these massive fish die-offs. So back in the day, back in its heyday, Abuelo, Beto, and people in the fishing game were called in to bring fish to the Salton Sea because it is the rebirth of an ancient lake that was created from a dam break in the Colorado River, bringing irrigation water to the outrageously fertile soil of El Valle. So all of this is true story. This happened, and the floods broke the dam, refilled this sea, but there was no fish in it. So there was such a beautiful body of water. Fish and Game was called in, like, let's populate this with fish so that people can go fishing. So they went to the Sea of Cortez. They found fish that could thrive in just abundantly salty water. It's saltier than the ocean. And they found things like tilapia and cordova and other types of fish that Abuelo Beto mentions in the book. And so for a while, like in the 1950s and 60s, and it just had this heyday where people like Desi Arnaz, Lucille Ball's husband, was coming down to fish, and people go water skiing. It was just like, it was the resort, that all of the Hollywood stars would come down to. But then as the pesticides from the farms started to bring in the DDT, the arsenic, and all of that, and then it started to dry up, the water became so salty, it's like almost sulfuric, or it is sulfuric. And so fish just started dying. Millions of them would just die on the shore, and it would smell horrible. And over time, these fish bones became what's called hash, and it looks like human teeth. So that's really what started the idea for me of, all of these things coming together, the fish die-offs, the agricultural and economic and ecological wreckage down there, along with these fish bones. And so salt bones became a metaphor for me of that salty sea, and then everything that's being buried in the town by the people, the wealthy, powerful people, the farming and fish and game communities like Abuelo Beto's family, and then those connections over time. So I don't want to give too much away, but I want to give you like secrets, but not spill too many beans, not spill too many bones.
We love secrets without any spoilers. Secrets, all secrets and no spoilers. I was saying, I think it's so important to retain familial culture and language. Growing up in Southern California, there was more Spanish in my brain than I probably realized. Over my lifetime, I have purposely learned 10 different languages, greetings and phrases. Oh, Robin, I love that.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
And Renee is saying happy early pub day. Oh my goodness, everybody's having such great conversation in the chat. And I want to just tell you guys that this book is getting incredible praise. So I'm going to pop this up for some of us. Oh, so they love Robin saying she loves your nail polish. Let's see. I missed it. Let's see your nail polish. Oh,
I had to get the orange.
You had to get the orange. Exactly. You have to be on brand and ready for your pub day. But this book is just getting so much incredible praise from, first from Erin Adams, who came on the show for her book, Jackal, from Cosmo magazine, from so many people. It's just so exciting to see everybody getting so excited about it. How are you feeling the day before pub?
Oh, I'm so excited. And I just wanted to say that the Los Angeles Times just did a review on Sunday. I got like a full page spread in the entertainment section, and it was just such a dream come true. So like I said, growing up in El Valle, 16 years ago when I graduated high school, I was featured in the newspaper as like an outstanding English student. I had potential as an English student, and they asked me, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a writer and tell stories of this place, of my home, of my people. And now 24 years later, the Los Angeles Times is recognizing that I'm telling stories about this place, these people that I love so much. So I'm just so grateful. I feel like, that really for me was everything, and everything now is a cakewalk because my story has gotten out there. My comadre, my good friend, told me just a few years back when I had started writing this about the Salton Sea drying up, and she said, if nothing's done, the Imperial Valley could become a ghost town. And I was like, oh heck no, right? I cannot let this place just disappear. And what can I do as a writer? What can any of us do? We have a voice. We have stories, we have connections, right? And so our voices are powerful. And but then I was like, okay, but if I just get on my soapbox and I start preaching, who's going to listen? So people like murder mysteries. I like murder mysteries. So I wrapped up my heart like a burrito in a murder mystery so people would listen.
Oh my God, I love that. And talk about a full circle
Yeah.
moment to now. I mean, full page spread in the LA Times is celebrating you and your book about this place that you are from and that you love so much. I mean, and that only you can tell. I mean, what an incredible, I just love full circle moments.
Thank you.
And they're not, and the LA Times is not the only one that's raving. Erin Adams, author of Jackal, who was on for Jackal, she says
Love that book.
Erin's amazing. She said
Mhm.
this book beautifully explores the dark complexity of mother-daughter relationships. Cosmo raves at the Cosmo itself, the magazine. I'm a Cosmo girl. I love it. Says this
Yep.
book will absolutely mesmerize you. Congratulations on that. Tananarive Due, author of the Reformatory, also rang in, says irresistible with the world of secrets, grief, and horror. So exciting to see all of these and many more. Morgan Talty saying taught with a mother's fierce love and the corrosive power of secrets. Oh my God, I just love any book about secrets. It's so good. And so many more. And we don't have time to go through all of them because you're just getting so much praise, but I'm going to put them all in the comments so that everyone can read them in their own time. I want to remind everyone that Jen is coming on tonight, the night before the book comes out, to give us the inside scoop on Salt Bones and take all of your most pressing questions. So here again is the link to pre-order from our favorite woman-owned independent bookstore. And again, the good folks at Murder by the Book will send this out to you first thing tomorrow morning when the book drops. Jen, it has been such a pleasure having you on, getting the inside scoop behind Salt Bones, behind the cover, the name, the title, the characters, your ties to this area, this community, these stories, the myth, and the magic of the Mexicali lands. Thank you for spending your time with us. And thank you to all of my mavens for joining us. And we hope you have a very special pub day. And when your next book is out, you have to come back and visit us again.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Sarah. It was beautiful to be here.
Yay. And that was both Hold Up Our Books. Mavens, thank you for joining us. That is a wrap for us. I hope your week is off to a killer start. May the days and the pages fly by, and I'll see you next Monday. Keep well until then.
Bye.